Hey,
Hi,
we are going to quickly introduce ourselves. So, I'm Aleeza, and I'm going into my third year of medical school in Ottawa.
and I'm Sormeh, and I'm entering my third year of dental school in Dalhousie University in Halifax.
So, today we're going to be talking all about extracurriculars and giving you all our tips from the start to finish. So, for some context, Sormeh and I met in undergrad when we studied biomedical science at York University. We met at Frosh, and the rest is history. But something that's been really crucial in our friendship is recognizing the importance of support, and that's led us to create Luminary.
Yeah, and first of all, I want to say that I'm really happy that we're recording our first video together, me and Aleeza. And yeah, we met in York in our undergrad, and it was such a great coincidence that we met because we are just like so in tune, and it was such a great opportunity to like share our resources, and especially because we're on similar paths and in general, just like having each other's back and supporting each other and having a really fun time in this journey. And I'm really excited to share that with all of you today because we really felt that kind of need to find better information from mentors. And like sometimes some things are a little bit unclear when you're in your undergrad and just helping you guys clear any confusion. Yeah. So with that, let's get started.
So, first thing we're going to talk about in extracurriculars is giving you an idea of some of the extracurriculars that we did and a little background on them and why we did them. So, I'll start off. I would say I think the most important extracurriculars I did was firstly in my first year, I signed up for the Science Student Caucus, which was kind of like our science student council that talks all about advocating for students on the academic side for things like wellness, etc. So I joined that in first year and I was able to work my way up to being the chairperson slash president of the Science Student Caucus. So that was a very nice experience because being the president, I gained a lot of leadership skills, and I also had to like work with a lot of professionals, such as talking to the dean, and that can be scary at first, but I had to do it and learn from practice. And then another thing that was really helpful was I was in the research club. And in my fourth year, I was also able to be president of that. And with that, I was able to help a lot of people get research opportunities, and I learned a lot about mentorship within that. Another thing I really enjoyed was I've always been like a camp counselor for a leadership camp. So I talked a lot about what being a camp counselor taught me and how that taught me I like taking care of people, like how I did for the campers. Also, beyond like the community, I also volunteered for the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, and that showed me that I liked working with vulnerable populations, and I learned a lot about how to communicate, especially with someone who is visually challenged.
I know that like you have been part of, for example, this camp counseling position for like a long time, right? So kind of talk a little bit more about that and like um how that kind of you starting off just being part of the camp and then transitioning into being a camp counselor helped your application and resume and just like in general your experiences.
So I was involved in two, and I'll talk about one that you, if you hear about this and you're interested, you can also get involved in. So this one is called SHAD Canada, which is a 1 month long program for high school students in Canada in grade 10 or 11 that are interested in STEM topics and also art and also entrepreneurship. Basically, this is a 1 month long overnight camp that happens for students, and it's in a university, so it's all across Canada. There's a bunch of different campuses, like from UBC all the way to PEI. So a lot of students go. I think it's like 2,000 a year. I went when I was going into grade 11, and that was a really cool experience for me because that was my first time living away from home, which taught me a lot about just like surviving university, gave me faith in that I'll be okay in university. I also kind of got exposure to like a university type lecture early on because of that. So that also kind of showed me what I liked. And I also got to experience and try a lot of different things within STEM. So I've always wondered if like, am I making a mistake if I like pursue medicine? What if I really like computer science or engineering? I don't know. So kind of getting that hands-on experience, I think also really helped me solidify like, okay, yeah, I know what I want to do, I think. Because I guess those opportunities can be rare. So that was great through Shad. And then I also made amazing friends that I'm still friends with like 8 years later now today. So that was a great experience. And then when I was in university, I was able to go back and be a camp counselor for it at York for 2 years. And that was incredible because it was so full circle to help the students. And also, as university students, high school students have so much they can learn from you. So you get to be a mentor. And then also, just being in charge of high school students for like a month, you learn a lot about like taking care of people's well-being, both emotionally and physically.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I really admired that like about you because like personally there was a lot of times where in my journey, and I'll talk about my extracurriculars too, but I always thought that um what there should be like better options, or like there's these
Mhm.
extracurriculars won't stand out versus like others. Like for example, I really wanted to keep getting involved in like Me to We or UNICEF, but I thought that this
Yeah.
wasn't going to be like valuable for my application. So seeing how like this you strategized, I mean not strategized, but it was kind of like unintentional strategy that brought like a full circle moment, I think was really eye-opening for me and kind of changed my perspective about how I carry out my extracurriculars. I'll talk a little bit about what I did in my
Yeah.
undergrad. So, starting in first year, I had a little bit of like a different journey than Aleeza. Obviously because like my resume wasn't like super ready for like getting top kind of like president or VP positions in clubs, which was like kind of my goal. So what I started off doing is just being super nosy, and I involved myself in a lot of like different community extracurriculars just to like meet friends and like make a community and like make friends that could teach me or talk about different opportunities that are in the campus at York, and just like supporting each other, learning from each other. So I started off going into like even with Aleeza, I went to like the Pakistani student like societies. I involved myself in like Iranian student society, even Spanish student society, just different societies like events. I would just see them around campus and get involved. And that really opened my eye to a lot of different opportunities that were available on the campus. And also one thing that I think both me and Aleeza would recommend is definitely going to your frosh, because those students are gonna be like your best friends for kind of like the duration of your undergrad, and you're probably gonna be keeping in touch mostly with them throughout. Yeah, just getting involved in those ways. And in my second year, it was COVID, so it kind of like halted kind of what I had planned before. And I still did get involved with like the frosh at York, which is like O week, and get becoming a frosh leader, and giving back to my community, and then also hearing about Science Student Caucus. I got really involved in that, and I would say that's something that really helped my application a lot, because through
Mhm.
that opportunity, not only did I get to go into different sessions with like the faculty of science and see like what's going on in the university, how are like plans happening, how are they adapting to COVID, and being able to like also voice my opinion and helping the student body, like not my opinion, but like transferring the student voice through me, and like gaining a little bit of confidence on how to speak and communicate with like people that are like intimidating was really nice, and like built my confidence a lot. At the same time, I was part of the committee of plagiarism and integrity. So I was like in sessions every almost every day, I would say, like every other day. It was pretty busy, but teach me a lot about like what goes on, and also being able to interact with those profs like day in day out made me have a lot of people that know me pretty well, and supported me for writing my reference letters. And not only were they working with me, they were also actually my course professors. So my chemistry prof was in that council, so he could kind of double edge sword, kind of like that he can tell about my academics as well as my work with him. In my second year, I also started my own club, which was called Bright Future Dentist, and it was a very great leadership experience for me. And that's kind of how I gained most of my pre-dental kind of experience as an extracurriculars, through hosting various events, building a team. We'll talk about how we started our own club and different tips on how maybe you want to start your own club and what our experience was. And I also did a little bit of research in molecular biology as a research practicum. That was also a great opportunity for me to learn in terms of like research, what goes on there, explore kind of what my interests are. And it definitely helped me even into dental school, building my resume to get better research positions in dental school and kind of continuing that. But yeah, that's kind of it about my extracurriculars.
That's amazing. And that point that Sormeh brought up about being on the committee for academic integrity and that being her chemistry professor, if you can find those type of like connections, those are really good for references because they can speak on your academics and they can speak on your teamwork and other skills. So definitely look for those kind of opportunities if you can. That's great. I guess while Sormeh is on the topic about starting your own club, we can talk a little bit about it.
Sure. I'll start off. Well, first of all, I wouldn't say that this is something necessary that you need to do for
Yeah.
your resume, but it was something that really like resonated with me, and I was really passionate in general to have such a leadership position. I'm a very creative person, and I wanted to. I saw a lot of gaps in like different pre-dental clubs and also just like opportunities for dental students. And I was really excited to fix those. So that's what kind of like got me on this path because I already had all these ideas and ambitions. And like sometimes people weren't super open to like having my ideas change their organization. So I thought of starting my own organization. And it was actually a pretty long process. Like behind the scenes, you have to like register your club. Like for York University, you go through like a registration process with both like YFS and SCLD. So like I had to write like fancy documentation for like what's our constitution, like what are our rules, and so that kind of like really helped me to solidify my plans. And honestly, I was really, really nervous and like almost didn't even start the club because I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be so overwhelming. People are gonna think this is like, who is this girl? Like, why does she think that she's like better than us or something? So it was also really important to have a good team to support me. And like one of my friends, Rustine, he was like the main push to like start the club, and he was like a big support in saying that he will help me and like have my back whenever things go wrong. So that was also a really important part of like why I even did this, because I had great people that were willing to support and help me. One thing that I would say that like in terms of like starting your own club, it does require a lot of like planning and management in those terms. If you are a person that likes to do that stuff, I think it's a great opportunity. For example, even I think it's going to help me a lot in terms of like managing my own office when I am a dentist, knowing how to communicate with my team, knowing how to motivate my team, being able to communicate and hear everyone's ideas and like executing them.
I don't know what the whole purpose of ratification is, but the most helpful thing, in my opinion, is that it gives you access to like all the university support and you usually will get some sort of budget. But if you are a club that doesn't necessarily need any money at all, then you can skip that process if you want, because as Somi said, it is pretty lengthy. You have to make a constitution, meet all the rules, blah, blah, blah. But with that being said, I think right now clubs are really strong through university, like Instagram accounts. So make an Instagram account, follow a bunch of people from your university, faculty, and you can start getting word of mouth out to maybe even start a team and then you can together write that constitution or whatever. But for me, I realized I didn't necessarily need money, so I skipped that process and I started a club in med school. And like Sorming said, this isn't something you need to do. It's more so if you have a big passion or if you've seen an issue and you believe you have like a solution for it, then it's a good idea. But with that being said, there is like so many clubs out there. So definitely take a look first at what's out there. So I think like the two main times that clubs are recruiting are like at the end of the semester. So usually like April when exams are happening or May, and then also the beginning of the year, so September. So there'll usually be like a club fair. Also in January, the start of the new semester, go to those club fairs in September and January, and then also follow a bunch of Instagram accounts of clubs you might be interested in. I realized when I was in second year, it was like COVID, so I was online and I felt like I had a lot of time too, and I joined so many clubs. And then I realized like it was just way too useless and I wasn't being able to commit properly enough to each to like be meaningful. So I decided I had to like pick a few. So I'd say like have three.
Yeah, I really agree with that too. Like I know a lot of the times people are just trying to like fill up their resume with like different names, but you should also have in mind that you are doing this experience to get something out of it. It's not just for you to like list a bunch of things that you are like hired for. You actually have to like meaningfully contribute in order to be able to say something about each experience. You can't just, it will actually tick the admissions office off if they see just like a bunch of random experiences. And well, obviously they're experienced people, they're gonna know that you couldn't possibly be involved in every single club. And so that could also be kind of a red flag. Also, if your explanations or like your input in terms of like what you learned from it, it's probably not going to be as effective, and like you're not going to be able to say much, and that's also going to be even more of a red flag. It's like, oh, did this person even like think before applying for this position? Did they even do anything there? So that's also something that I really agree with Aleeza, like picking those like top three things that you really want to get involved in and really like delving deeper into getting involved and running your own project. And it doesn't really matter the title. I know that in first year, I was really like down bad for those titles. Like I wanted a VP position or a president position, but it really doesn't matter, especially for like clubs that like such as mine, like Bright Future Dentist. When I was organizing events, I was actually a very like open-minded person, and I would encourage my members to host their own projects. So just finding the right clubs with the right values that fit your kind of ambitions is going to be really helpful. The same thing happened to me in second year, like when it was COVID and everything was online. Obviously, you have so much time because you're always at home, like you don't actually have a life because you're just like sitting there. And then like when I got into third year, and like I also wanted to do my DAT, and then the research position was in person, and then now my club wanted to have in-person events. So it got a little bit overwhelming. The biggest lesson I learned from that is learning that sometimes things might not like work out, and that's okay. You don't need to feel embarrassed about things being messed up. Like if you took on too many things, it's better to notice it and catch it and reduce it so you don't actually start like ruining your grades, or just not enjoying your time in the extracurriculars. No one's even keeping track of these things. It's only like for your involvement, it's for your growth. So never try to push through something when it's not like actually like feasible, just because you think other people are watching, because literally nobody cares. And like
Mm.
even if they're like giving you clout right now, it's gonna be history. Like don't think of your life in just this moment. Like it's literally doesn't matter. Just do what's best for you. The other thing that I wanted to mention too, like in terms of getting funding for the club and like registering for a club, yeah, that's not completely necessary. Like it was just like I wanted to officially be part of York. And like one other thing that it allowed me to do is like tablings, which
Mhm.
ended up actually being non-existent because it was too hard to organize. So just have in mind like what are
Mm.
those perks that you're getting from doing this work, and if it's like actually going to work out, because I didn't really think too much into it before actually like registering, and then I saw that I actually didn't need any of those resources and I spent so much time registering for no reason. Another thing I would suggest is like if you want to put a good team together, the team is the most important part, and like going to those community clubs and meeting those passionate people I think was one of the things that made my club so amazing. It wasn't just my work, it was just me bringing those people together that really made the club what it was. So also have that in mind, that it's not like a one-man team. It's something that if you want something like great to happen, you need to be able to lead those people in the direction that kind of like they all like. A little bit promo time through Luminary, you can actually host your own projects. And whether you're a pre-dental or a pre-med or dental student, med student, we're always open to supporting you to run whatever projects you're passionate about. And me personally and other people in the team have a lot of experience running projects or doing startups. So if you're ever passionate about something like that, do reach out, and we would be happy to help you and accommodate that, and fostering you into a better leader. Having our support and our network and information and experience, I think would help you a lot in terms of like workload and having like more probability of success. So that's something that it's completely open to you guys, and do reach out if you're ever interested in hosting any projects like networking events, even like community events. It would be definitely something that is part of what Luminary stands for, is helping you guys be better leaders and grow together. And that's also going to be really great for us to like learn about different avenues of doing projects. So yeah, I've also put together a really comprehensive guide on like what these narratives, like what are the different kind of narratives and how you can build them. Me and Aleeza and some of our other mentors are going to be hosting personal statement series for you guys, and do keep in mind this opportunity because it's really going to be helpful, and this is going to be happening between July and October and November, which is the kind of admissions or personal statement submission deadline. We're going to be talking about all the tips on how you can build your narrative, what extracurriculars to mention, and how to talk about your extracurriculars even more in depth than this video.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the types of clubs that exist. So now let's address, you might be thinking, what exactly should I be doing? What clubs should I be in? I don't know what I'm doing. How do I talk about them? So let's start talking and diving into that. So when it comes to clubs, I would say everything you do is building a narrative on the type of person that you are. So, for example, for me, I was trying to do everything that shows a bunch of different skills I have. So, like I mentioned, I did volunteering to show like some advocacy work. I did some leadership positions. I did some positions where I was like taking care of people, so that was responsibility. So those are all like skills I'm showing them that I have. So for example, if you are like the director of marketing for 5 different clubs, that's probably showing them like almost the same exact skills in each thing. So it's more helpful that you do just one of that and then do a different role. So try and have variety in the extracurriculars that you do. And also make sure you have a reason for if someone ever asks you, why did you join this club? That you have a genuine reason other than it looks good on my resume. Like Sormeh gave the example before of I didn't know if I wanted to join UNICEF. So for me and Sormeh, that might not sound like a club that's like we're too passionate about. However, if you are maybe someone that has a personal experience or like has volunteered with UNICEF before, that might be something you're really passionate to do and you want to look into joining. Or also just look into like any nonprofits and see if your university has a chapter for any that you're passionate about. And if there's not, then maybe there's like an opportunity for you to start one. I know some common ones are like Jack.org is a good, like, I think mental health nonprofit. And then there's Amnesty International, which is about global health and immigration and global crises. A lot of universities have these, and like UNICEF, like we mentioned. So definitely look into those kinds of opportunities. And then, like we mentioned, the Science Student Caucus, there's always like some sort of student government in your faculty. And there'll be different types of student governments. Like the Science Student Caucus was more so for academics, and then there'll be a social one that will like organize things like a formals, fun clubs. So think about whatever interests you. Like if you're athletic, join some intramurals. It really depends on you, and we can't necessarily tell you what to do. It depends on whatever story you want to build. And I'll definitely would say look into whatever schools you want to apply to and look for the type of skills they mentioned they're looking for, and just make sure you're showing all of them at some point in your extracurriculars because that's the main goal and that's the reason they have it in this list.
Yeah, just to quickly mention, like all these things that Aleeza's saying, I completely agree with. Like in terms of like building kind of a narrative of like what you're trying to kind of convey. Like everything you do in your extracurriculars says something about you. And like when you're talking about those to the admissions office, you're trying to present the narrative. Like who are you? What are your values? How are you contributing yourself to the world? So If you guys ever are confused about this, this is a perfect opportunity for you to come jump on a mentorship call with us, and we'll like kind of guide you through like what your extracurriculars already look like, and maybe how you can build on some of the narratives that you already have some experiences. With that being said, I also just really think that every time you're like going for extracurricular, like Aleeza's right, you shouldn't just always do like a marketing position for every role just because that's the skill you already have. Personally, I would always pursue extracurriculars that are not only just good to put on your resume, but add some value to me as a person and value to my growth. I don't look at my journey as kind of like I need to get in 4 years into dental school and like that's it, and like let me build my resume in order to optimize when I'm getting into dental school. I'm optimizing my resume in terms of what kind of dentist and clinician I'm going to be in the future. And it doesn't matter to me what timeline. The timeline isn't my priority. The timeline is the skills that I'm gaining from my extracurriculars and that align with my passions as a person and teach me something new. And especially going into a healthcare field, something that I think should be really regarded highly in terms of like which extracurriculars you pick is gaining the right perspective of all these different communities that we provide care for as clinicians in Canada. So you know that Canada is a very diverse population, and if everybody's coming from a different background. And it's really important to be able to, the most important thing as a clinician is communication. You need to understand their pain, and you need to understand how to empower them to help their health, and also like how to communicate what plan you have for them and how that's going to help. And that really depends a lot on what people's perspectives are. So like a lot of people, like for example from back home, don't really care about their dental care, or I wouldn't know this though if I didn't interact with those communities and understand their kind of mentality about it. So that's also like partly why I do a lot of community involvement. I went to India when I was younger to learn about kind of like what's their background. And even now, I'm trying to go to other mission trips in different countries to understand the community's perspectives. In the same way, I did a lot of volunteering in like food repackaging centers. Like it was like a community center where the groceries would come there and like they would sort it and give it to different families. So talking to those families and understanding kind of the barriers they face in terms of like care, and also in general like what their life is like, gave me a lot of insight on like how I could be a good clinician. And this is something that's really important and really does show through when you're writing about your experience and when you're talking to the admissions office, and they care really deeply about this. This is like something that is top on their list, that you are a very worldly person and you can understand different people's perspectives. On top of that, I think that you should pick those experiences that not only add value to you but also to your future. So even like I worked as a waitress, and I think that really helped me not only like work faster, I got lots of
Yeah.
money. Lastly, like it did help me in terms of like communication, in terms of like how
Mhm.
to how to undergo a lot of like criticism from people that are hungry and their food is coming late, or you never understand like how much something can help you until you do it. All those experiences, although like I didn't really plan on going for them, or like I did it, like for example I got a waitress job for money, it ended up like my reflection on it and the things I learned on it still really did help
Yeah.
me in my applications, and also just understanding humans, because it doesn't always have to be in healthcare that you understand humans. Anywhere you understand humans is understanding humans. So
Very well said. And that's a good point about doing what adds value. Like, I worked at Starbucks, and that was one of my most helpful experiences because I learned how to make really good coffee and also how to interact with people, especially like rude customers. Like, I see rude patients all the time now, and I'm like, I've been there with that. Now we're gonna wrap up. And like Sormeh mentioned, we are gonna be doing a session, and I'm gonna be talking specifically about how to fill out an ABS and how to market yourself with all your extracurriculars and activities for an autobiographical sketch that might be required for med school or dental school admissions.
and the other topics are going to be also how to write essays for your application, what your why dentistry or why medicine, and more topics which you can check out on our Instagram. I'll put the link under this video. And thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you, Aleeza, for all your helpful tips. It was so great talking to you and sharing all these tips. And hopefully, this was helpful for the audience. And please do keep in touch.